Hi, it's Chuck from Dig, and today we're going to build a fern and moss terrarium. We're going to start with gravel. This is washed gravel, which is great because it comes pretty sandy, covering the bottom. And I don't want to just dump this in, just in case your container is a little more fragile. This is landscape fabric. You're just placing that on top. What it's doing is keeping the soil on the top of the gravel rather than so it just blends down. It also helps with the drainage. All right, the next step will be just a layer of soil to the top layer. And that just gives us a good base so that everything is covered. Okay, the next thing we're going to add is some activated charcoal. Now this is available at a pet store. It just keeps the soil fresh. The moisture and all, terrariums can get a little funky and a little bit too wet sometimes, and we'll talk about that at another time. All right, the next layer we're going to do is the plants themselves. We're going to do a fern terrarium, and we're going to arrange these ferns. The thing to remember with a terrarium, not to overstuff it, because the beauty of the terrarium is the landscape, so that you want it to be, you know, something that you see with some space around it. This one's pretty dense though. So we're going to squeeze it down. We're going to make a little nest for this thing down to the landscape fabric. And we're going to just add that, and I think off to the side is better, just so everything's not so orderly and it looks more like a nature type of thing. All right, so this really fills up quite a bit of space already. If you feel like sometimes it's too big, you just go in there and you just cut it. I think 3 is always a good number. The odd number is always a good amount of additives. The Impressionist painters added colors in 3s. Everybody thinks in 3s and everything. Taking a plant and trying to get as much of the soil off as possible so that what you have is just a little bit of amount. Again, pushing the soil away in our little nest. I'm going to add this other fern. This is a different kind of fern. Again, I think the idea of a good terrarium is one that's going to grow taller, one that's going to stay towards the bottom, and textures. And I think color is always good. I'm adding this polka dot plant, which is also very good for a terrarium. We're going to add it over here, and that adds a little pizzazz to the thing. All right, now at this point, we're going to add soil around our babies here. So we have to just be careful. I'm doing this quickly for our demonstration, but you can take your time on this because you want everything to be covered. Again, as I've always said, the only danger for roots is air. Okay, we have 3 different plants, 3 different levels, 3 different textures. It's now taking moss, and there's 2 types of moss that are available. We have the clump moss like this. This comes with a bit of soil on it. And we have the sheet moss, which is more of a, it's been excavated, a little more preserved and everything. Both need to be kept wet. We're wetting it so that it adheres and it starts growing. And this is just making almost like a glue. It's taking wet to wet. Our soil is wet. The moss is wet. We're going to lay this into our terrarium. We're going to tuck that in. On a terrarium, you're looking at it from different angles. Side view is important here. Pushing it. So you're seeing I've got the layer of stone, I've got the layer of soil, and I've got the sheet moss. All right. Now, what does happen sometimes with the change of temperatures in your room is that it gets steamed up. Sometimes on a side it gets steamed up. You never add any more water. This is the key. Do not make this a soggy mess thinking it looks dry. What you do is you'll see steam is good, but then if you get too much steam, just simply take off the top, let that steam evaporate, and again, regulate it that way. So that's how we made a terrarium today.